back over to Dick. One of the other categories of creatures in the Felifornia group are the Malagasy carnivores, known as the euchlarids. And these are fascinating creatures, and as I mentioned, I saw one in Lodi last weekend, and not roaming, not roaming, it's in the zoo, Mickey Grove Zoo in Lodi. It's a fantastic animal because you look at it and it's sort of cat-like, but it's so stealthy, really incredible creature. So that's another category within those. They do resemble a cat somewhat, but they're also weasel-like. They're very interesting. Another one of my personal favorites within the carnivores is this creature called a binturong. It's also known as a bear cat in Asia, commonly known as bear cat. It's in the Viveridae family. These are most of the civets of the old world. And you'll remember that the original carnivore creature, once upon a time, was in the civet category too. Once upon a time, that evolved from a civet-like creature. These guys are awesome. They have a bushy tail, they have amazing whiskers, those forward-facing eyes, great climbers. And the best of all, they smell like butter popcorn. They do. San Diego had one in their wild animal show. Truly smells like butter popcorn. This is the palm civet, the Nagle, ancient carnivore as well. So now I'm going to turn it over to Dick, and he's going to talk about the herpestids.
Is the volume okay?
Higher.
Higher. Is the volume okay?
Yeah. A little more. Can you do a little more?
Okay. That's full blast.
That helps.
That's as high as I can. You're able to hear?
Yeah.
Okay. The family Herpestidae consists mainly of the mongooses and the meerkats. The mongooses came first, and the meerkats followed. This, I cannot interpret the behavior for you because I'm not sure, but there are two meerkats standing on a termite hill, termite mound. Most likely the lower animal is trying to be a sentry, stand on top and look for predators. They take turns doing this, males and females, and they may stay there as a sentry for 45 minutes. The second animal, he seems to have an affection for the first animal, but that's all I can say. The meerkat originated in the south of Africa, more to the west in the area of the Kalahari Desert. They eat, as you would expect, insects and small prey. This includes scorpions. Now, they seem to be immune to the poison or the venom of scorpions. And they also can eat them without getting stung. So, scorpions sometimes are below the surface, maybe an inch or two, but these animals have such wonderful smell that they can pick them up underground. And then they have very powerful claws and dig up the food. They're very social. They play with each other all the time. It's actually fun to watch in the zoo. They live in large colonies underground in a tunnel system. This tunnel system may be 5 to 7 meters in diameter, and it may have as many as 90 entrances and exits. So a predator coming into their tunnel system won't catch them because they have so many alternate routes. That tunnel system is specialized. In some area, it's the maternity ward. That's where the babies are kept. And not only the mother, but the other females tend to that baby. It's 3 weeks before they will come out from underground and be out on the surface. They are extremely altricial. They communicate vocally. These animals that I refer to as the sentry, if they see a bird like a vulture or some predator in the sky, they will let out a cry. They're not gentlemen and they're not gentlewomen because they go down first and then the others follow. They have several elements to their behavior. One is called tripoding. When they're sentries, they stand on their hind feet, but they also use their tail to support them standing as a third foot. And so that position is called tripoding. They also are fossorial, as I've already told you. They have powerful nails, powerful claws, and they build their tunnel system. They're quite often underground. The eyes, the darkness around them, I've already mentioned. They also have thermoregulatory habits. This is a mammal surviving in a desert. And so they have different methods of survival. Here is one where they are piling on one another, trying to keep each warm, huddling. This is in the morning when it's very cold. The sun is not up. This is another method called basking. You will see this in the zoo. They sit, they expose their abdomen and heat their abdomen. This is just showing their sociability, how they play. This is showing the tripoding on top of a mound. I'm sorry you can't see the tails very well. Let me talk to you for a moment about the termite mound. We have a synthetic termite mound in our habitat, and it's nice because it gives you a realization of what they're like. Termite mounds can be enormous. They can be 17 feet tall. They can weigh a half a ton, 1,000 pounds. They are porous to air. Down at the base there are openings that allow air to come in, and I imagine termites as well. Then in the vertical part there's a chimney, a vertical stack, and it vents at the very top. What happens as the heat builds up, heat rises in that chimney, and it pulls air into it from below and it lets it out from above. It's like an air conditioning system, and they can keep the temperature the same through day and night, protecting the termites. These animals, the meerkats, are very wise. They have learned that they can build tunnels under the mound and connect to their air conditioning system. And so a current of air is going through the meerkat's home as well as the termite's home. I think that's you.
So, hyenas, now we're in the hyenidae family, and those hyenas are fascinating. So here's actually the two different prominent species of hyena, the spotted hyena and the striped hyena. The striped is much more rarely seen and understood in the zoo world, but it's great to get to see those two side by side, so we included that photo for you. Spotted hyena is a fascinating animal, and it's one that is particularly fun, in my opinion, to interpret at the zoo. Because of Lion King and other kinds of folklore and etc., the hyena is not well understood by the public. It's sort of feared more than understood. It is a keystone predator. Hyenas will chase and bring down prey that is significantly larger than they are. So that's important to understand. So that they're the apex predator and the keystone species in the ecosystem. And I'm going to explain a little bit more about exactly why they are such a keystone species beyond just being an apex predator. They do have that distinctive body shape and a loping gait. So you will notice that the rear side, the rear end of the hyena is lower than the front side. And the design of that body plan enables them to run for the long distances. So they can run for much longer than a lion or a cheetah or any of the other creatures can do. Hyenas may hunt or forage by themselves, or they may group up with their pack and hunt as a whole clan. In those cases where they hunt as a whole clan, they will absolutely challenge lions. They will intimidate other prey, such as lions, wild dogs, leopards, etc. But they often will hunt and forage solo. And that's because some times of the year, there may be less big, large prey available, such as when they migrate out of where the hyenas are at. And in those circumstances, the hyenas have to go off and scavenge prey or find other animals, or in some cases they will go near safari encampments and scavenge trash even, which is not ideal, obviously. But they do have that split kind of lifestyle, where sometimes they're solo and sometimes they're together. They are primarily nocturnal hunters for the most part, but they're extremely opportunistic. They do have amazing bite strength in their jaws. Do we have a hyena skull here, Dick?
Yes, right here.
This one. These skulls of hyenas are just slightly different from some of the other carnivorous skulls. And that is, they have this amazing sagittal crest, just like Dick had talked about earlier. But that bite strength can come down at more than 1,100 pounds of per square inch pressure on the jaw. So this is the largest, most intense bite pressure in the animal kingdom, with the possible exception of alligator and shark. So very ferocious in that respect. The other thing that's rather fascinating about hyenas is that those carnassial teeth are not located quite as far forward on the jaw as in the other creatures, and I'll explain why in a minute. Basically, that has to do with the fact that they're going to have larger bites in their mouth, and they're going to want those teeth to be a little bit sheltered from that initial bite before they deploy the carnassial teeth. The most important thing to understand about hyenas is that they are essential, absolutely essential recyclers and health keepers of African ecosystems. The reason for that is that if you think about lions hunting, let's say the lions are out there hunting all these animals, and then there's all these carcasses laying around, mostly eaten or devoured, but there's still a lot of bone material, all that's sitting on the landscape, and it can become a cause of infection for the landscape and contamination. The hyenas come along and they're like, ooh, yummy bones. And they will actually devour those bones with that amazing bite strength, crush those bones, eat the marrow, and actually recycle that material into the soil, into the ecosystem as they defecate it. Often hyena defecation is white because of that calcium material. That calcium then feeds into the soil, and that nutritious soil causes the grass to grow and feeds the entire rest of the ecosystem. That's a very important reason why you cannot just say, oh, we're scared of hyenas, let's remove them from the landscape. That would be a catastrophe. They are the only species capable of recycling the calcium in those bones back and to support the rest of the ecosystem in Africa. And they also, like I said, by taking care of those bones that are out there, they're also being the health keepers and kind of the sanitation group for the African ecosystem in conjunction with the vultures as well. There are a lot of threats to hyenas though, because they are so feared, and they can be especially ferocious and bold as a clan. There are depredation killings. So if a hyena comes near a village, they may take it upon themselves to kill hyenas, and those retributive killings are very problematic. Habitat loss, again, is an important part of the threats to hyenas. They get caught in bushmeat snares because they do run and cover so much territory when they're running through the ecosystem chasing prey animals. They're also able to be subject to snaring by bushmeat traffickers, so that's terrible. And then also the trade in body parts as well. Some of the African medicines will rely on hyenas as well, so they're also subject to that kind of pressure too. So lots of threats to these creatures. So here's a few looks at what I was just talking about, that distinctively lower back in the very back end of the hyena. Gives them a longer, kind of a loping gait, so they're able to cover more territory with less energy exertion. The hyena's skull has that huge bite pressure we talked about, and the carnassials are located further back on the skull. So imagine you're going to crunch a big bone. You don't want to have it hit your carnassial teeth and break off those important points for killing. So you're going to crush that bone at the front of the mouth, out of the way of the carnassial teeth. Do we have any dental students here? This guy might have to be a dentist. There's that amazing look at the jaws of the hyena, quite amazing. And that, again, that bone crushing bite strength is to recycle the bone matter in the ecosystem. So they will take down animals that are 3 times their own size. So imagine the energy, the strength, the stamina that it takes to bring down something 3 times your size with just your teeth. Hyena must hang on to that prey against very formidable rival carnivores, especially lions, painted dogs, and leopards. And so again, that bite strength comes on handy. If they get into a tug of war over the carcass, they are usually going to win. And again, that vital recycling capability that the hyenas are providing that no other species in the ecosystem can provide to that degree because of the bone crushing ability that they have. So they provide truly invaluable services in the ecosystem, and that's incredibly important for people to understand. Here's an example of a hyena carrying off. So that's a carcass that would, maybe have been stolen from a lion that was still eating on it, but a lot of the flesh material has already been removed and is less attractive to the other animals. But the hyena is like jackpot that can keep on crunching for a while. Here's a piece of a femur from a giraffe that the hyena is going to go gnaw on for a while. There's another look at one of our zoo hyenas. And they are highly social, and they may form enormous clans in some places, again, when the prey base supports that ability for them to hunt as a group and to have enough prey available for everybody to be able to feed efficiently. So now we're going to move into the Carnivora group, and I think, are you taking over this part? I can't remember if I started or not. Let me just check. Oh no!